Hi, I'm Ciallella.
And I'm Liz Correll.
And today we're here to talk to you about women in history who have done some really cool things, but who never get any recognition in classrooms.
And, so we decided to do this presentation, and we came up with a very snazzy acronym to help everyone remember it, and that acronym is Sloth.
Or sensational ladies overlooked throughout history.
Woo! Yeah. Okay. So we both go to an all-girls school, and one thing that is drilled into our heads every single morning at 8:05 is that women can accomplish whatever they want, women are tenacious, and women are ambitious. And, there's no limit to what women are capable of doing.
So we wondered why we were constantly learning about men in history classes and all of their accomplishments and their triumphs, and we never heard anything about cool women.
We then started to do research about these women when I decided to approach Mia about doing a TED Talk about the women who have done amazing things but aren't part of our syllabus.
So we decided to do some real-life research, and we took one of our history textbooks, Modern World History, published by McDougall-Little, and after one very tiring lunch period, and counting all of the men in the index in comparison to women, we came up with a shocking ratio of 239 to 31, which comes out to be about 13 to 1.
This is insane for a number of reasons. The number one reason being, there have been way more than 31 amazing women in the world. There are some amazing moms here today, and it's almost the amount of women who have made accomplishments but haven't been put into our history textbooks is innumerable. So we decided to do a talk about it.
So today we're going to talk about 6 totally badass people that really deserve recognition today, and this is exactly what we're going to give them.
We're going to start with Juana Gallen, and she was a 20-year-old barmaid living on the Spanish Peninsula during the time of Napoleon's reign. She ran her own bar. She was very independent. She wasn't married, just kind of living her life, chilling. Then she found out by word of messenger that her town was about to be attacked by Napoleon's army. She responded, just in complete disgust, by organizing a meeting with the other women in her town so as to find a way that they could stop the invasion. They then met and decided to ambush the soldiers with scalding water and boiling oil. The soldiers rode into their town, and the women poured this boiling water all over these men, who quickly retreated and left. Juana then beat up the stragglers with a wooden stake, and she is now a symbol of resistance and hope to most of Spain.
So up next, we have the beautiful Heidi Lamarr, and basically you can thank her for all the time you waste online looking at pictures of cats, because her creation, her discovery led to the creation of Wi-Fi. So she was a well-known Austrian actress. She was known for her beauty and talent, and at the age of 19, she married the 3rd richest man in Austria. But unfortunately, he was pretty controlling, and he often had Mussolini and Hitler over for their dinner parties, which shows how great of a husband he was. And at these parties, she kind of found that she had a passion for applied math and sciences, because this is what they were talking about for a majority of the time. She then decided that she really didn't like her husband, so she wore all of her jewelry to dinner one night and then split. She eventually made her way to America, where she met up with a composer by the name of George Antheil, and together they came up with wireless frequency hopping, or a wireless communication system, and they patented their idea with the hopes that the Navy could use it to make torpedoes harder to detect and jam. Unfortunately, the Navy didn't use this until 1952, but in the meantime, discoveries like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi were created using this information. Unfortunately, she died in the year 2000, but her memory lives on. In 2008, a play was created, kind of documenting her discovery and workings with George and Theo, and it was called Frequency Hopping. And Anne Hathaway has been quoted to saying that her portrayal of Catwoman is based on Heidi Lamarr.
Woo. So next we have Bayard Rustin. Ooh, no, no. No. Now we have Bayard Rustin, who was a amazing, amazing man who is not in a single history textbook that I have ever looked at. He was an amazing gay civil rights activist who lived throughout the 1960s. His work basically culminated when he was chosen to be the orchestrator of the March on Washington. Yeah, that March on Washington, which completely revolutionized the entire civil rights game. He is the reason that Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech and made so many people inspired that day. And he is not in a single textbook and is never recognized for his accomplishments. Planning a march is hard. People need to eat, people need entertainment, and people need to urinate. Planning a march basically takes tons and tons of dedication and time, and his passion for civil rights and his love for equality allowed him to create what was probably the biggest game changer of the civil rights campaign.
So piggybacking off of Liz, another great person in the civil rights movement was Fannie Lou Hamer. And she, unfortunately, is never talked about in history textbooks, even though she had such perseverance, such courage, and such dedication to this cause. As a young woman, she became very interested in the civil rights movement, and she attended a lot of speeches, including some of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Later, she herself became a prominent speaker in the African American community, known for her plain language and biblical references. She had to overcome countless obstacles in her life, including a time where she and a couple other activists were heading home from South Carolina when they were pulled over by the police, arrested, and beaten almost to the point of death. She was also given a compulsory sterilization, meaning her uterus was taken out without her consent, in an effort to, quote, dampen the poor black population in the South. But she has become such a beacon of hope and courage and perseverance through the civil rights movement, and she definitely deserves much more recognition than she's given.
Okay, up next we have Julie d'Aubigny, and she was both an opera singer and a swordswoman living in France during the 17th century. And she basically grew up as the daughter of a wealthy nobleman. And her father really wanted her to grow up with a knowledge of, how to defend herself. She then used her talent for defending herself and her talent for swordsmanship and etc. When she decided that the lover she had ran away with wasn't bringing home enough money for her and decided to begin busking on the street in order to make money. She created an act which she called the Sword and the Song, which she used to both make fun of people through song and then challenge them to duels if they decide to, heckle her or anything like that. She was famous for picking fights, and she would just berate as many people as possible just because she was so angry all the time. She then, there were many instances where people would say, oh, there's no way you're a woman, you're way too good at being you're way too good at singing, and you're way too good at swordsmanship to be a woman, you have to be trained or something like that. And in response, she would rip open her shirt and say, I allow you to make your own judgments, like I am a woman, and just amazing. She then joined an opera house where she became famous for her performances and less on her dueling. But she still managed to beat up people as much as possible.
So the last woman we'll be talking about today is probably my personal favorite. Her name was Cheng Shi, and she was a prominent and very notorious pirate in 19th century China. As a young woman, she married a powerful pirate who soon died, And instead of one of his high-ranking male officials taking over his place, she decided that she was going to have a go at it. And at the top of her reign, she controlled more than 1,800 ships and 80,000 people, which is crazy because I can barely remember what day it is. So it was amazing that she was able to do that. And she couldn't be beaten by the Portuguese Navy, the Chinese Navy, or the British Navy, which was arguably the best navy in the world at that point in time. She constantly was pillaging villages and looting villages, and she even imposed taxes on some of them. And she had such power over the seas, and the other pirates and the governments alike were fearful that they would see her flag, because she was said to often nail men's feet to the decks of ships and then allow her crew to beat them up. But she was both powerful and smart. Smart enough to accept amnesty from the Chinese government when it was offered to all pirates. So she subsequently stopped all of her pirating ways, kept her loot, married her adoptive son, and opened a gambling house, which is quite a way to go out. I think most importantly, though, she was featured in the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which is definitely when you know you've made it big. So the purpose of our presentation today was not to say that we resent men for all of their awesome accomplishments and all of the recognition they get for them, but to show that history can easily be presented in a more equal light, and it can still be a lot of fun.
And this was only 36 women and a dude. So there's way more than 36 women who have made amazing contributions to society and the world. We just wanted to pose a question to the audience and allow the audience to make their own judgments and reservations about what we're learning in history class. And if you take nothing else away from our presentation, let it be the fact that the sloth can swim 3 times as fast as it can run. And we are handing out pins that have sloths on them.
Pretty cool.
And we made them for 3 hours last night, so please take
Please
one.
take them. Please.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.